Hello. Today I'm going to talk about Helen Gurley Brown and her Sex and Single Girl. First, let's introduce a little bit about Brown. Who was Helen Gurley Brown? Brown was an American author, publisher, and businesswoman. In 1962, when Brown was 40, she published Sex and Single Girl in 28 countries, which was a huge success and stayed on the bestseller list for over a year. In 1964, this book, Sex and Single Girl, inspired a film of the same name starred by Natalie Wood. In 1965, Brown became an editor-in-chief of Cosmopolitan and stayed in this position for 32 years. Cosmopolitan had become a literary magazine with little or no fame until Brown revamped it as a New Cosmopolitan, a magazine written for the modern single queer woman. In the 1960s, Brown became an outspoken for women's sexual freedom. She appears women to have their own career, find their own social identity without dependence on men. Her books and magazines both provide advice for women to realize their dreams. Her magazine Cosmopolitan later became international and traversed many other magazines such as Cosmopolitan Real Life Stories, Cosmopolitan Hair and Beauty, Cosmo Girl. Cosmopolitan has become a pioneer in women's magazine. In the 1960s, the role of women in American society were going through huge changes. Since the World War II, more women than ever entering paid work. Accordingly, this increased the dissatisfaction in paying and the advancement and sexual harassment at the workplace among women. Another profound change happened in the bedroom. According to Walsh, after the federal government in 1960 approved a birth control pill, more than 80% of wives of childbearing age were using contraception in the end of 1960s. This freed many women from unwanted pregnancy and gave them many more choice and freedom in their personal lives. Gradually, Americans came to accept some of the basic goals of 60s females: equal pay for equal work, an end to domestic violence, an end to sexual harassment, and sharing of responsibility for housework and child rearing. As journalist Kate Morton observed, the 60s were an equal time of transition, change, and confusion. Sex and Single Girl, Unmarried Women's Guide to Men, is a book written by Brown based on real-life experience. She gave advice to women on how to lead a wonderful and independent life before marriage. As people often say, this is an advice book that encouraged women to become financially independent and experience sexual relationships before or without marriage. The idea of this book conveys may seem quite ordinary right now, but back in the 60s, when women still needed marriage to identify themselves, this book was definitely stunning. This is the contents of this book. Chapter 1, Women Alone. Oh, come now. Chapter 2, The Availables, the men in your life. Chapter 3, Where to Meet Them. Chapter 4, How to Be Sexy. Chapter 5, 9 to 5. Chapter 6, Money, and so on. From this, we can have a hint how practical this book was meant to be and the idea it wanted to express: being independent in personal life and career. Brown's book may be controversial in writing style, but it is undeniable that an important role it plays in feminism. It plays an important part in sexual revolution. As Jennifer Scanlon, the author of Bad Girls Go Everywhere, The Life of Helen Gurley Brown, says, Brown is not only one of the founders of second-wave feminism, but stands as the key of antecedent for the third. This is just a brief introduction about Brown and her book. If you are interested, you can read Sex and the Single Girl someday. Thanks for listening.